Hello everyone, I'm Woman International Master Knarik and I'm using the website chesswithknarik.com to record this video. In this website you can all sign up for free and have private and group lessons for free, and also you can solve puzzles, you can practice with different lessons and practice against the computer in different end games, middle game positions, and also play against the computer and play against other people online. You can also join our group webinars where we also have, after the lessons, we have tournaments, and our teachers are all titled players. And so let's start by analyzing this position for this video. Now, to understand this video, we are the defending side. We have the black pieces. We need to try to draw this position. To try to draw this position, we need to remember some important information about rook pawns. Now, because in this position, we're surely gonna capture the d pawn first, because white has two passed pawns. There is a rook pawn and there is the d pawn. Definitely let's keep the rook pawn to the end, because chances are higher for us to draw if we keep that pawn for white. In addition, this white pawn is closer to us, we can definitely capture it first. So, but we have to capture this d pawn in a way that we will not allow white to win. And how is that? So white can only win this endgame when white is left with a rook pawn, of course, can win this endgame by moving their king to one of the key squares of this passed pawn. And the key squares are b7 or b8. So the white king must aim to reach one of these squares. So the idea is this: when we capture the pawn on d5, we shouldn't allow at the same time the white king to get there. Now, how can we do that? Let's say if we just move our king to c5 and we want to capture the pawn on d5. Okay, it's true that if white just pushes the pawn, we can just capture this pawn, and we will definitely stop white from moving to one of the key squares here. This is definitely going to be a draw. We can play any move here. The draw is king c5, draw is king b7, and we didn't allow the white king to move to one of the key squares. So going back, moving to c5. Okay, surely white is not going to push their pawn on the da file. And also not pushing the pawn on the d file, because if we capture that, we're already very close to f8 and f7, and if we move our king there, we're surely not allowing the white king to move to any of the key squares, which is good for black. It's going to be a draw. But what white can play here, if we go back, instead of pushing the pawns, white can try to take advantage now of this position and move the king forward, and when we capture, and we should capture, then white can move to b5, and now guaranteeing that the white king is going to be able to make it to one of the key squares, which is b7, and white is going to be able to promote the pawn. Okay, if we just try this, of course the black pieces cannot try moving upward, because here okay, the pawn can just push. There's no really a challenge there for white. How about if the black king decides to move to d6, white king just continues and moves to the key square, and that's it. This is winning for white. What should black try? Just wait around with the king, or try to capture the pawn, but that's not going to work either, because the white king is defending the pawn when it's needed. So let's go back to this initial position. So we tried the obvious move, just going directly to c5 and capturing the d5 pawn, and it didn't work. So then we understand something here. It's important to keep the king away from the key square. So let's try to move forward to b5, keeping the king away, not allowing the king to get closer to b7, to the key square. Now, but what are possible moves for white here? What if white sacrifices the d pawn and uses that time to move the king to b7? Is that going to work? It's not going to work, because we will be close enough when we capture, when they push the pawn and we move our king to capture it, we're going to be close enough to the c7 square, and if we're able to move to the c7 square, that's it, because by moving to c7 we're taking away the key squares from the white king. And if even if the white king moves to a7 here, that's going to be a draw because we will never allow the white king to move to b7 or b8. Now, going back, so what else can white try if we play king to b5? Now, what if white tries to push the pawn? Okay, now, again, we can move to c5, because here, again, white does not have the chance to move the king forward to try to move to the key square b7. So here, what will white play? Moving the pawn forward is just going to help us. We capture, and next move already, we're on c7 and not allowing the white king on the key squares. And what else? What if the pawn pushes? We capture. Okay, of course, pushing the pawn is not going to help because we are in the square of the passed pawn. Just to remember, what's the square of a passed pawn? We draw a diagonal in the direction of the promotion rank and complete a square with our pawn. And if the black king is in the square, which is in the square already, it means that the black king is going to be able to stop this pawn, and that's what will happen if white pushes the pawn. The black king is simply going to be able to capture it. Going back here, what else can be tried by white? What if the white king just tries to wait? But then again, we are going to be able to move to b7, a8 and make this a draw. So going back, so it's very important then to know basic information about some endgames, let's say rook endgames or pawn endgames, and use these information that we have to make decisions in a bit more complicated positions. For example, here, just by knowing that we should avoid the white king from, we should stop the white king from moving to the key square b7 and b8, we were able to draw this game, not allow white to win.